Coming for you!
So, guys, the 28 Years Later trailer just dropped, and I gotta say, I'm pretty fucking keen for it. Just the fast, super aggressive, I guess you can call them zombies, they're probably zombies, with the super fast transmission, with the bites. It really is a hardcore threat. It's probably one of the deadlier fictional zombie apocalypses, because you can just see how badly and fast the shit would infect like a clumped up group or crowd, you know? Like, you don't even have to imagine it. Like, 28 days later, there was like a monologue of a dude describing trying to escape a city with his family. And, yeah, and it travels through the crowd super quick, and his family member got fucked up by it. But not only that, like, it shows it in 28 weeks later. It showed like a full, thought out military quarantine containment camp being like overrun by it. And like, that's despite snipers and technicals with machine gun lines and shit. Like, it's extremely well done. But yeah, like, great series of zombie movies. 28 Days Later, in my opinion, was probably the weaker of the two. But not by much, and that gets some credit because it was the more original of the two. Like, it's not a slight. It was just, you know, significantly slower and more character-driven. And there was a lot of talk back in the day that its plot was pretty heavily inspired by, like, Day of the Triffids novel by Wyndham. Insofar as, like, you can draw comparisons between the university people that wanted to quote-unquote get the blind breeders in Day of the Triffids with the army dudes who are looking to reproduce and all that sort of shit. Both of them are, like, eventually overcome by the external threat from internal subterfuge and shit. Not so much the university dudes in Day of the Triffids, but the army dudes, like, right at the end, where he cuts all the fences down for the burgeoning new military dictatorship. And obviously, same thing happens in 28 Days Later, where he releases the captured infected. The captured infected just tears ass through the camp. It's like the same sort of deal, you know? Honestly, the Day of the Triffids probably deserves like a television series at this point. It was like a great little post-apocalypse survival horror sci-fi novel. I suppose it's a little bit goofy, the idea of fucking giant, like over 6 foot plants with like poisonous stingers that can move around and shit. I suppose it's a little goofy, but he grounds it so well in the novel. Like, I don't think it matters much. They tried to make it into a movie, but like the movie wasn't that good. It kind of shat the bed a little bit. It didn't follow closely enough to the novel. It tried to do its own thing, and it just wound up like a boring little character study, like about some dude in like a fucking house or lighthouse who had like a drinking problem, and he's hinted at abuse between the drinker and his missus during the post-apocalypse. Like, just all fucking boring shit, right? You want to see plant action. But yeah, I tried to make it in the movie. Movie wasn't that good. But anyway, this is like, you know, about 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and 28 years later. So 28 weeks later was obviously the superior movie. Superior not only because, like, it had a lot more action and a lot more pace to it. 28 Days Later was a lot slower and a lot more character driven, and the characters weren't particularly great. They were left kind of intentionally bland to be like everyman and that sort of deal. But 28 Weeks Later was just, you know, way better. Like, right off the bat, you've got the house escape, where like Don like barely gets away. He abandons his like wife to do it. Barely gets away from the skin of his teeth on like a fucking boat. The score slowly builds through it. It has the shot of them, like all the infected running over the hill. Has the claustrophobia of the house. It has the start of the musical beat kicking in as like Don has to abandon his missus. Like, the whole thing is fucking one of the best like openings to a zombie movie like ever, just in terms of like grounding, pacing, action, score, visuals, like the whole lot of it. Like, even the in the story aspect of it, where the motherly instinct of the lady basically condemns her, and the survival instinct of the man to get away basically condemns him at the same time. It's like fucking brutal, but you know, absolutely awesome. And then like the next set piece after that is like, after all the character building and all that sort of shit, the establishment of the concept of trying to re-establish all the people in the UK after all of the infected have sort of starved to death, is like the second outbreak, when Don gets infected, which again, the whole thing's like amazing. It's paced well, the characters like are tested well. The military aren't like just goofy comic book villains. Like, they act out of necessity and desperation rather than calculated evil. And obviously, like, eventually the totalitarian ruthlessness of, you know, the necessity of quarantine sort of breaks through, and they order like everyone to kill everyone. But like, that's just as the situation devolves, and it's not like it's corrupt or anything or cartoony. It's like a necessity, because this shit is like so dangerous. And obviously it culminates in like the firebombing, and like the whole set piece is just amazing. Like, the realistic reaction of the military based on necessity, the fact that they weren't like evil cartoon villains or panicking cowards overreacting. Like, they were reacting to an impossible situation as it unfolded, and like that just adds to the quality of the movie. Like, from there it becomes like a chase movie with like likable characters and shit, and it's like a solid chase movie from then on as well. But like, in my opinion, the two set pieces kind of just set the movie to be like that good. So like, given the quality of the movies in like the 28 later series, I guess you'd call it, has improved with each film and like has significantly improved. And they didn't start particularly weak either. Like 28 Days Later was a good movie. So like justifiably there's like a ton of hype and expectation for, 28 years later now. It seems to be going in a slightly different direction. Like humanity at this point seems to be like frontiers and outposts, sort of like the cordyceps infection in The Last of Us. Like that seems to be how it's gone, and it appears it's going to be more of a grounded, focused story on survival rather than the first two. With the first being, mainly an odyssey through a horrible zombie infection outbreak, which like destroyed everywhere. And the second being like a more deliberate, intelligent examination of what would happen in the event of like an extremely transmissible and fast-spreading like zombie virus outbreak, with full military preparation and execution and that sort of thing. Like both of them are like very good in their own rights.
What's the story?
It just seems to me that this one's going to be a lot more grounded, with a lot more situational horror. And it'll probably have like villainy of other humans and survivors and shit, just like the first one sort of had, rather than rely on awesome set pieces like 28 Weeks Later had. But look, I'm on board. I hope Boyle resists all the dog shit, woke diversity quotas and everything. Like, the first film sort of kicked off with that, but not in a flattering light. Like, the animal activists released infected chimps. So hopefully he can like maintain a little bit of that disdain for the woke he had at the start of the first movie. Also, let's be honest, who the fuck just releases a fucking testing chimp? Like, even a clean chimp. Like, don't they remember that fucking lady that got absolutely fucked up and had like her face eaten by the chimp? Like, in the wild, these motherfuckers have been known to like gang murder each other tribes of chimps. I don't know if you call them tribes, probably closer to gangs, and fucking eat the dead that they kill, like cannibalistically. Like, they just fucking capture and eat smaller fucking monkeys and shit as well. I mean, I suppose they're pretty cute when you see fucking, what's that bodybuilder's name? Eddie Hearn or whatever, tickling them. And they laugh and shit. I guess they're kind of cute when that happens. And I suppose if like anyone was to like naively trust in the possibility, in like a potentially murderous, impulsive, and possibly cannibalistic nature, in order to free something that may then fuck them up, it would be a leftist activist to do that. It'll be funny to see if Boyle is woke and he pulls like a Furiosa, where right at the start it had the little paradise amidst all the desert, and there was like a really fat lady in the paradise, and it was just like this weird little quota fulfillment, this little tick box of like fat acceptance in like the post-apocalypse. With like a fat person. It'll be funny to see if like there's any fat people in like any of these outposts or camps. And look, that in itself is just, it's fucking incredibly immersion breaking. Like there's not going to be any fat people in like a survivalist post-apocalypse, right? They will be killed for food, maybe, if a situation's that bad and everyone's reduced to cannibalism. Or possibly because, they simply pulled a Millhouse in the Lord of the Flies parody and just lacked the self-control to ration their food. Or maybe they'll just be like, horribly fucking bullied, like the useless piggy character in like the Lord of the Flies. Oh, they can't walk anywhere because their knees and ankles are fucked. Oh, they can't hunt. Oh, they're just useless mouths. They can't even gather because they eat whatever they find. Yeah, right, cool. Okay. Yeah, they probably don't exist in the post-apocalypse. And there was also a lot of talk about Cillian Murphy's character from 28 Days Later making an appearance as an infected in the trailer, because it looked like him right at the end of the movie. It's possible. Like, I'm not sure where they went. I'm pretty sure they eventually went with the good ending in 28 Days Later, where he survives the gut shot, and they sort of live happily ever after. And then the jet flies overhead, and they're all fine, and they're all sort of on this fucking Glen. But there was like alternate endings where fucking, I think his name's Jim, he just fucking died of that gunshot. And like, these zombies are different. They just fucking die. It's not like a Dawn of the Dead zombie where they die and then they're reanimated and then you have to fucking smash their head or whatever to kill them. It's more of an infection. They take regular human damage, and as long as the damage isn't fatal, it slows them down horribly. But the moment they take what would, you know, equivalently kill a human, instantly kill a human, or do significant damage to a human, they do end up fucking dying, similar to a human. Like, the damage accumulates. It's not like fucking Land of the Dead, where you can have one of the zombies nearly has its entire head cut off and it's only hanging on by a bit of like spinal cord or whatever, and it's still fine and walking around. No, these things fucking die. But yeah, like, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Like, I'm on board. Like, a couple of the, you know, more recent sequels and remakes haven't been too bad. I thought Alien Romulus was alright. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Like, the same for Alien Covenant. Like, that had some interesting ideas in it, with the fucking androids kissing one another and that sort of shit. The crazy fucked up android that had its head ripped off and then glued back on, and like, that was pretty good. Like, it had cool ideas in it. It probably went a lot more, you know, Prometheus and Paradise Lost than it needed to. It probably got a bit edgy atheist with the whole thing, really. They're like drawing like a one-to-one comparison. Like, originally the title of Covenant was meant to be Paradise Lost, because he was trying to draw some comparison between the system of values imprinted into David by humans, because he's an android, to the systems of values imprinted into regular Free West by Christianity. But, you know, Free West Christianity gave us everything we have now, so we should be fucking grateful towards it. We shouldn't be, like, criticizing it overly, especially without criticizing things like Islam. Like, Islam has child marriage. It's fucking barbaric. Like, it has child marriage, it has sex slavery, and the rules aren't even like that strictly followed within the fucking religion. Like, particularly among the terrorist groups. Like, the gay people are meant to be, like, extrajudicially killed, like, according to, like, a cold read of the Quran, right? But then you have instances of terrorist groups, like, male raping other, like, gays in prison and that sort of thing. And then, of course, you have all the young... Well, I suppose in a society that has child marriage to young girls, fucking, you're gonna have, like, male rape of young boys, right? It's just too fucking close. But you'd expect all that shit to be punishable by death in Islam. And it's not. They're, like, fucking trash values right off the bat. And then, on top of those trash values, they can't even maintain their rules, which are meant to be extremely strict. And they're meant to, like, kill people over and that sort of thing. Like, yeah. But anyway, I guess all these fucking edgy atheists can, you know, go after Christianity, but they're too fucking cowardly to go after Islam. Yeah, I guess. Even though you're existing in the society that Christianity created, you're throwing you're throwing rocks at the windows in the cathedral from the inside of the cathedral. Like, if you're an atheist in a, you know, a proper Islamic theocracy, you might just get extrajudicially fucking killed in an Islamic theocracy. And then they're criticizing fucking Christianity for being like strict or condoning slavery in the Bible, even though it's like directly Christian values in the British Empire and later the American Empire that fucking, you know, got rid of slavery, and other religions like Islam practice it to this day. It's fucking insane. But anyway, rant over. This is more meant to be about the 28 Weeks Later trailer. I'm keen for it. I'm keen on board. It's probably going to be a little bit like The Last of Us. It's probably going to have a lot of that hard drama and that sort of shit in it. But yeah, looks good so far. Hope they don't fuck it up. And there's a chance that they may fuck it up. Although Boyle is pretty good. His successive movies, I'm not sure if he was involved with the second one, but 28 Weeks Later was good. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna check it out so far. I don't know anything about Boyle's other movies. I think Boyle done Slumdog Millionaire, didn't he? And that's just like the perfect example of fate. Like, the idea of that movie, and I haven't seen it, but I get the idea of what it is. Basically, a young, super poor Indian dude goes on Who Wants to Be Like a Millionaire or something, and he ends up winning because throughout his life, he encountered the answers to each one of the questions on the way to the $1 million. And, like, that's just like a cool little heartwarming story of just life, right? But I don't think it's particularly woke in its values. If anything, it might be actually slightly more religious in its values because it has the idea of fate written into it. But that's like another thing that the atheists don't like. They don't like being held responsible for their own actions or societies like the Soviet Union, North Korea, Maoist China, etc., because they all failed and starved to death like millions of people. No, they like to blame an external force for their failures in society, that being God. Even though, you know, in the strict religious, you know, sense of the word, God granted humanity free will through the apple. If you do bad shit, you're responsible for it because you have free will. And I suppose you can, you know, sort of maybe come back with the counter-argument. God's all-powerful, he may have planned to give humans free will, etc., and that sort of thing, even though it was like the serpent that tricked Eve into eating the apple. And, like, not to go off on a tangent here, but, like, women are really starting to resemble Eve, aren't they? With that fucking Lily Phillips lady fucking banging 100 men. And then not only disassociating during it as if it were a gang rape, which it, you know, sort of closely resembled a gang rape, but, you know, cried and shit after. Like, it's sort of like a leftist thing, right? Because they don't quite understand what they did wrong, because they have like a flawed value system, a flawed set of moral foundations. They don't get the idea of sanctity, the inherent value from God of, you know, your body, humanity, your choices in general, that sort of thing. So, when it comes to the idea of, you know, like bodily corruption and all this sort of shit, they really don't understand it. Especially when it comes to, like, disgust response shit, right? Like, why do you think they colour their hair, like, exotic poisonous animal colours, like, you know, bright green, you know, that, you know, certain frogs colour themselves to warn that they are poisonous, or like, you know, fingernails with the yellow fingernail polish, bees are black and yellow to indicate that they can sting you and inject you with poison, like that sort of shit. Oh look, maybe I'm looking too far into it, but yeah. Edgy atheists ruin everything, fuck them. But yeah, I don't consider, like, Lily Phillips, I nearly said Philly Lillips because I've had a couple, but I don't consider Lily Phillips to be worthy of a full video, right? Basically, it looks to me like they are amplifying the destruction of the family unit and the sanctity of marriage. That's what it looks like to me. That's the goal of what they're doing. That's why, you know, sex sells. Like, okay, you can make the argument that sex just inherently sells because everyone's a little bit of a pervert and they want to see what they shouldn't see and all that sort of thing. Yeah, fair enough, whatever. I get it. You could also argue that a lot of this shit is fucking amplified by social media, and you can argue that it's deliberately amplified by social media in order to push an agenda, let's say. And what have the Marxists publicly stated they want to do? Destroy the family unit, empower the state. They want the state to raise the kids, to be able to indoctrinate them, etc. They do not want people thinking individually. They do not want independent thought. They don't want any of that. They want obedient workers, as George Carlin put it. In order to get obedient workers, what do you need to do? You need to indoctrinate people. I think that's just a ploy in order to destroy the family unit, to destroy the hereditary passing on of information and knowledge, in order to empower the state. I think that's what it is. If you destroy the family unit, if you have fatherless homes, we already know what fatherless homes lead to. You've seen the democratic experiment of that in Detroit. It leads to a ton of crime, ton of criminality, ton of mental illness, ton of drug use, etc., etc. Bad shit, right? Bad shit for society. If that's what it leads to, why are they, actively pushing for it? Yeah. Like, that in itself, right? Like, I don't know if this is all paranoid, but, like, super paranoid. I don't know if I'm, like, Jordan Neely fucking yelling at it like a subway right now, but it seems kind of logical to me. But yeah. That's what it looks like to me. Looks like the deliberate destruction, or attempted destruction, of the family unit by amplifying bad messages that women can make a shitload of money like this. I think like Lily Phillips was making like $600,000 a month by being like an online prostitute, an online whore. That you would amplify that message tells me you're attempting to destroy the family unit. Because, simple facts, the more partners a woman has had, the less likely she is to pair bond, the more likely she is to be a single mother. And we have seen where single motherhood leads. So that's what it appears to me to be. But of course, sex might just sell. It may not be, that much amplified. Like, social media might act as an amplifier for the worst impulses of society. Who knows? I mean, it sort of behaves that way because humans in general pay more attention to shit that is scary or bad, right? In order to avoid it. That may be one of the aspects that's empowering this, like, Lily Phillips message. Who knows? But, like, the very fact that she's fucking crying after it and she says, oh, it's not for all women to do this. It's not for all women to get gang raped. Yeah, no shit. What kind of fucking... Yes, obviously, correct. That you would think it is for some women to do this is fucking odd to me. But yeah, like the very fact that she dissociated it, like during it. Ugh, oh my god, what are you doing to yourself? Fucking poor young woman. And then she said she's going to do 1,000 in a day after. Alright, cool. I guess you're raising the stakes. I don't know how much more the stakes are raised after 100. I don't know if any dude's jagging off to that, but okay. I'd seriously consider, like, if you were jacking off to, like, a lady getting fucking ran through by 100 dudes, whether or not you should be doing that. It's probably not reinforcing the best aspects of your character by doing that. But, you know, whatever. And then all the feminists came out. Oh, it's her body, her choice, she can do it. Oh, what about the men who decided to partake in this orgy? It's not even an orgy, it's kind of like a... it's fucking horrible. Like, to put it into, like, perspective of what it is, it's almost as if she's, like, deliberately chosen to be, like, a trafficked, like, woman. And just, like, see 100 clients a day for a pimp. Like, that's what it's doing. And it's sort of glorifying it because she's super wealthy. It's just fucking wow. But anyway, yeah, 28 years later, I'm on board. Looks good.